everyone, that was the absolutely fantastic and unmistakable riff to Van Halen's Dance the Night Away. And despite it being one of Van Halen's more lightweight and radio-friendly tracks, it's always been one of my absolute favorite Van Halen songs, and certainly one of my favorite Eddie Van Halen riffs. I mean, there are a few key tracks in rock and roll history that are just custom made for driving around on a sunny day with the top down and the wind blowing in your hair as you cruise on down the highway. And this is most definitely one of them. It just makes you feel good when you hear this song. Originally, the title of this one was Dance Lolita Dance, as initially penned lyrically by David Lee Roth. Thankfully, Eddie and the rest of the guys in the band would convince Roth that that title and subject matter just might not fly. I mean, it was a different time and all back in 1979, but still, regardless, when Van Halen entered the studio in 1979 to record their second album, Van Halen 2, they pretty much had an entire album's worth of material already written and ready to record. Those being mostly original songs from their clubbing days that had been left off their debut masterpiece. Dance the Night Away would be the only track written on the spot in the studio as a brand new track for this, their second album. Apparently, the riff and song, composed by Eddie Van Halen, of course, was inspired by and somewhat of an homage to Fleetwood Mac's Go Your Own Way. Interesting. Now, when I first read this little tidbit of information, I personally had never made that connection before. But listening back to both songs kind of side by side, one can certainly hear where Eddie got his inspiration for this track from the Fleetwood Mac song. However, upon its completion, Dance the Night Away wasn't much of a hit with the rest of the guys in the band. They didn't much care for it, probably because it was so lightweight and AM radio friendly. They certainly didn't want to start turning off the growing fan base that they were acquiring at this point, and that fan base being mostly hard rockers. Eddie would persevere. The song stayed, coming in as track 2 on the album, and Eddie would make no excuses for the track's inclusion, stating as such that he wasn't trying to write a light rock hit. That's just the way the song developed. It started with that fantastic riff, and everything else just fit into its correct place musically to create something a bit more pop radio friendly than anything the band had written up to this point. Kind of a song developed naturally. However, with that said, even Eddie didn't want the song released as the album's first single. The band's label, Warner Brothers Records, felt otherwise, and insisted that Dance the Night Away be released as just that, obviously eyeing a potential AM radio hit for the band. The band at this point in time just didn't really have the clout that they would have later to overrule their record company's decisions, and the track was released as a single to AM radio. And all things considered, that decision was probably the right one. It did become a hit, and it really didn't hurt the band's credibility in the least, I don't think. It was just a fun, feel-good song that even the diehards enjoyed for the most part. I was a massive fan of Van Halen back in the day, and despite my leanings towards the band's heavier fare, I absolutely adore this song. Now, believe me, there's not much to be said about growing older, but being old enough to have lived through this era of music as a teenager in the late 70s and early 80s is definitely one of the highlights. Anyway, enough chit-chat. Let's have a look at how to play this great classic riff from the master, Eddie Van Halen, as accurately as we can possibly get it. But first, let's close in here a little bit. All right, let's have a look at how to play the main riff and I suppose the pre-chorus part and the chorus, which is the main riff just all over again, to Dance the Night Away by Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen. First things first, we are in, we're tuned down a half step. So here's your tuning. and so down a half step, as is typical of a lot of Van Halen stuff. And so we're basically working with 3 chords. We're basically working with 3 strings: the D, the G, and the B string. Almost the whole riff takes place, except for a couple of well-placed open E strings. There's your E major right there, barring the 9th fret of those 3 strings. B major, 7, 8, 9 on the B, G, and D, and then you move that down 2 frets, A major. And those are the 3 chords we're going to be working with until we get to the pre-chorus. So it starts with an open E, and there's lots of palm muting going on here as well, and I'm going to point it out. He's on and off with the palm. This sounds like a fairly straightforward riff, but it's not. There's a lot of little nuances going on here, and I'm going to try and hit upon some of them, because most tutorials for this one don't. They'll just, you know, they'll just play it straight, you know, each time the same, whereas each time it's pretty much different each time he progresses through the riff. So it starts with an open E, and then we're going to hit that bar, all 3 strings together at the 9th fret, and then a little palm muted solo note here at the 9th fret of the D. And then back to the bar, and then you're going to get your pinky on 10 of the B. Kind of like that. And then again, you're going to hit that, just that single note at the 9th fret, and then back into the full bar. And then you're going to hit 3 palm muted B majors, and the 3rd one you're going to slide down to A major, and then hit it again once you get it down there. And then there's a little mute before you get into that section there, that little chord. Now you can hit the bottom 2 open strings, kind of like that, but Eddie doesn't do that. He hits this little chord right here, index on 4 of the G and your middle finger on 5 of the B, and gives it a little vibrato while he's at it. Sorry, I hit the open D there, but it's more of a mute. And then back to the open E again. And this time you're going to hit 2 full chords of the E major after the open E. And then hammer on your pinky again to 10. And you're going to hit that bar again at the 9th fret, and 2 palm muted A majors, just the 2 strings this time, the D and the G, and you're going to slide it the 3rd time, and you're going to release the palm mute, and you're going to slide it the 3rd time back into the B major, kind of like that. And that's pretty much the lick, and then it repeats. But the 3rd time, he doesn't do this with that solo note there at the 9th. He hits the chord 3 times. And the 3rd time, he just does it, or the last time, he just hits it twice. And that's pretty much the main riff. So let's go through it nice and slow. And that's the riff, and then we're into the pre-chorus, which is basically into a B power chord up to a C sharp power chord. But you really want to get a full power chord, like a major power chord here, which is basically a B major power chord, and then up to C sharp, and then you're just going to ride down through the chord, kind of like so. B to C sharp, back to B, and then just ride up the B, the G, and the D. And then up to the C sharp for a little palm muted chugging. And then a little ride up the neck, and then back into the B major again. And then into that lick right there. 2. Hammer on back to 2 from the open, and then back to open. And then 4s on the B and the G. And then back into that. And then back from B to C sharp, back to B, and this time you're going to do a little pull off from 5 to 4 of the B, and then you're going to go into the C sharp minor position here and ride right down the strings, except for the bottom E. And then we're into that. 5 to 4 of the B, up to 6 of the G, and then grabbing 4 of the high E. And then into that, barring the B major, and then on to the 5th fret of the B twice. Let's do that through that whole pre-chorus one more time. And that's pretty much it. We're not going to get into all the tapping harmonics and whatnot. That's beyond the scope of what this little tutorial's all about. We're just basically looking at the main riff here. And I hope that helped you out. That's a great fun riff to play. Very creative on Eddie's part, this one. Just some lovely playing. And you guys take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time. Ciao.